There's a narrative. There's a narrative. If we're going to tell a story, we got to make sure that we tell the whole thing so we can get to the bottom of it, so we can solve the problem. And the father wasn't playing. Father like, listen, I was in the middle. I trained killers. You lucky I didn't find you type thing. But that shouldn't be the solution. The solution should be, where did I go wrong as a father that allowed my daughter to no longer trust me, but now rely on another man who beats her? Where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? You guys have seen Dr. Phil, correct? Everybody knows Dr. Phil. I like Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil has a talk show, very popular, very well known. He's very famous for being this psychologist type, therapist type talk show where he helps families through their problems. On one of these episodes I came across, what the situation was a young daughter who was in a abusive relationship with her boyfriend. The daughter's 20 years old. The boyfriend's in his 20s as well. They're both very young. And they're in this abusive relationship. The parents go on to Dr. Phil and they're just confused, right? They're angry, they're upset, and they're not understanding why their daughter is in this abusive relationship and why she keeps going back to it. They try to help her, she doesn't want the help, and they're just looking for answers, right? Well, the parents go on Dr. Phil, the daughter goes on Dr. Phil, and also the boyfriend is on Dr. Phil, and they all tell their sides of the story. I noticed that as I'm watching this interview, there's a lot of holes in the story, right? There's a lot of holes in this story from the family, from the boyfriend, from the daughter, from Dr. Phil, even Dr. Phil. And there's a lot of holes there. And what I want to do is help fill those holes to finish painting the picture, hopefully, right? The parents explain their side of the story of what they see going on with their daughter. Here we go.
My daughter's starting to become this stranger to my wife and I. She's 180 degrees from the person that she was.
Before meeting DeAndre, Autumn was vibrant. Since meeting him, Autumn has withdrawn, dropped out of college.
Autumn calls us frequently, and it's almost like something out of a scary movie. All you can hear on the phone is my daughter screaming hysterically, "He's gonna kill me, he's holding me on the floor," and then the phone hangs up. And you have no idea where she's at. I fear what DeAndre's gonna do to her. Because this cycle of violence that they're trapped in, it's getting tighter and tighter.
Autumn has promised me numerous times that she'll stay away from him. And I find out that she hasn't left. I'm afraid DeAndre will kill my daughter. He's hurting my baby. And I want her back.
Boom. So that's the situation. That's from the parents' perspective. They obviously don't like this guy, DeAndre. They think that he's potentially gonna kill her because he's so abusive, and they don't like it, right? And I can understand why there's fear there, right? Because, you know, if your daughter that you raised called you on a phone in a panic, saying that she's afraid for her life, that she might die, and then just hangs up, what any other parent would think? They would panic, they would overreact. You would hope you wouldn't overreact. You would hope you'd be able to see clear in the situation that your daughter is 20 years old, she's grown, she is choosing to be in this relationship, that you should let her suffer, right? Let her go through that if you tried to help her, yet she doesn't want help. You would think you would hope that that's the approach parents would take, but I can understand that they're reacting in this way because their emotions are tied, but doesn't make it right. Nonetheless, I want you to hear the boyfriend side, because that was the parent side of the story, okay? That's the parent side of the story. But I want you to hear the boyfriend's side of the story, okay? Let's hear the boyfriend. The demon, the so-called demon, the evil man, the one that is abusive and potentially gonna kill the daughter. Here we go.
Autumn is crazy. Autumn and I met a year and a half ago. One day I was on social media scrolling, and I was like, ooh, who is this baddie? Baddie means she's cute. I was like, hey, you should come hang out with me. She was like, oh, I would love to. I stayed with Autumn because she's my homie. For two, I kind of like crazy girls. When Autumn I fight, the fights get out of hand. I choked Autumn probably around 6 times throughout our relationship. The first time I choked Autumn, I was at her house, she was screaming at me, and I choked her. I picked her up, I took her to her room, and I slammed her on her bed. I ended up in jail for aggravated domestic assault.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
On the night of the incident when Autumn keyed my car, she went through my phone, saw some messages that she didn't like, kicked me out, took my money when I left. I took her phone, she followed me, and she was, I'm sick of this. And she keyed my car. She has anger issues.
All right. So now we see the boyfriend side of the story, right? Because it's important to get everybody's side of the story before we draw conclusions, right? Even though the emotions want to just get ticked. Trust me, I understand. But we got to know the whole side of the story. And obviously, this is the boyfriend side of the story. And he's saying, listen, I'm abusive. Right. But I think I love her. He thinks he loves her. But as you also see, she's also kind of crazy too. He's recording her and she's attacking him and she's swinging at him too. Right. And also she keyed his car. Right. The parents didn't mention that part in their side of the story. Parents didn't mention that. They're just talking about how the boyfriend is a demon, the boyfriend's at fault. And yes, the boyfriend there, he's young, he's got a little ego on him, right? He's cocky, and that's off-putting. And you typically don't want your daughter to be with somebody with that type of behavior. Of course. But she's not innocent. She's not innocent. That's the boy's side of the story. But also what I wanted to point out to you guys as well is that I want to show you guys how they treat, and when I say they, I mean Dr. Phil and the parents treat the boy as he goes up on stage and speaks. I want you to see how they treat him. Here we go.
Do you think that it's okay for you to hit my daughter
Why
or
do you
any
think
other
it's okay
woman?
for you to hit your daughter, sir?
Answer my question.
Why do you think it's okay for you to hit your daughter,
My
sir?
daughter's already come out here and said that has never happened.
I understand that. However, your daughter is also very afraid of you.
What the hell does that have to do with you doing it? You think because
No, I don't-
someone else has violated her at some point in the past that gives you license to do so?
No, sir. I just believe that.
What the hell are you saying?
I believe that the way he's coming at me, he's saying who does that. However, he does the exact same thing.
Well, what's that got to do with what you do? You're a man on what you're
It has
doing.
nothing to do with what I'm doing. I take full responsibility for
Well,
what I
then take
have.
responsibility
I feel
for
like
it and
he
don't
should
point the
take
finger at
full
him.
responsibility
If you're
for what he
putting
has
your
done.
hands on a woman, that's a cowardly thing to do.
Yes, sir.
What gives you license to do that? The fact that
No,
somebody else did
no,
it?
Yeah, I have no right to do it, and I know that it's wrong to do it, and I shouldn't be doing it. However, I do have a problem. I do want to get better. I have been working on my problem, and I'm confessing that I have a problem, and I know that I have a problem, and I've been trying to address the problem, and I've been trying to get better. That's why I put out my camera. If I saw a girl, before I took my anger management class, there's no way I would watch a girl key my car. And there's another video where she jumps on my back. She's like, fight me, why don't you fight me? Like, and I'm getting antagonized. I have anger issues. Like, I'm still working on trying to get better. I know that I do need help, and I'm seeking help, and I want more help. For
Well,
sure.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Did they talk to you about accountability?
So you see how they treat him right there. They're going hard on the boy. And because the narrative is that the boy is the abuser, right? That's the narrative here, that the boy is the abuser, right? And he is, and he's admitted to it. But you also see that he's taking accountability for it completely, right? And yeah, he's pushing against the father in the beginning, like, the father's like, what gives you the right? And but then he's like, well, your daughter has also told me that you have hit her. right? Like he's defending himself, right? His ego's really going to battle. But the point is that this boy took accountability, responsibility. But in the eyes of the audience, in the eyes of Dr. Phil, in the eyes of what it seems to be, right? In the eyes of the parents, he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. Well, I want to show you how everybody treats the daughter as the daughter comes out on stage. Ooh-wee! Here we go.
Is there any part of your mindset that makes you believe you deserve what he's doing to you?
I mean, sometimes I think that if like I wouldn't have just like not said that, or if I wouldn't have done that, then it would be okay. And he wouldn't have acted like that, and then we would be perfect.
So you blame yourself for provoking?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Sometimes I do.
So some of this you put on yourself.
See, it's all nice now. It's all nice to her.
Poke him.
Yeah. Like I think that I just bring out the worst in him sometimes.
Do you think any woman deserves to be hit, sexually assaulted, life threatened?
No.
I mean, no matter what you say or do, I mean, that's not a reason, that's not a proportionate reaction, is it?
No.
I mean, what you're doing.
The energy is different now. You see that? You see the energy is different? The energy is very different. It's very like, do you know your behavior? Do you know what you're doing here? You know you're caught up. I know it's hard. I understand. It's more understanding for the daughter, right? Because she's being portrayed as the victim, right? She's no victim, y'all. She's no victim. I'm not saying she deserves anything that she's gotten, right? I'm not saying that. But she's involved. She keeps going back, according to the story. She keeps going back to this, right? She keeps going back. She's over 18. She's grown. She's making her own decisions. Why is she looked upon as a victim? And they do that because they think that women who are in these positions are held against their will. They can't help themselves. They don't know any better. They're just afraid to leave. It's really painted as this victim story when there's a lot that she's doing too. And that's one of the holes I want to fill is like, Dr. Phil, you ain't filling this hole here. The narrative is he's the bad guy. She's the victim. She's innocent. She can't help herself. Come on, Dr. Phil. But Dr. Phil's nice and he's trying to do his best, but he's biased. He's being biased here. And that's not fair. That's not fair. I have a couple more clips I want to play to you for here as we finish this up. Since the narrative is the daughter is a victim, so let's paint the victim thing then. Is she a victim also to her upbringing? Is she a victim also to her upbringing then? If we're gonna paint her the picture, let's paint the picture. Is she a victim? What was done in the household that allows her to attract this type of man that abuses her? Why is she attracted to this type of man? Why, when it happens, she goes back to this type of man? Why is she running away from the family to this man? I question, what is the father and the mother's responsibility that has to do with this? I'm wondering. Here is where the father's issues become revealed, become evident.
So let me carefully define the situation for you.
Yes, sir.
You've come on stage and you're smiling and you find great humor in the fact that you're sexually assaulted and physically assaulted my daughter.
There's no humor to it. There's no humor to it.
You had the courage. I don't think I want to call it that. I think I want to call it the poor decision to look my wife in the eyes and use your fingers to illustrate. But if you'll listen to me, I want to outline the situation for you.
Everything you're saying, yes, sir.
Okay. I've trained thousands of warriors, soldiers to take the battlefield in some of the most austere and dangerous conditions imaginable.
Yes, sir.
Against some pretty scary armed aggressors.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. That's probably why your daughter's so afraid.
I've come looking for you And I'm going to just tell you that by the grace of God in heaven, I was unable to find you.
Yes,
And
sir.
it's only through my inability to do so that you still draw breath.
Yes, sir. So you're gonna kill me.
So the father just threatened the boy on television, right? He threatened him. And he basically said, I tried to look for you. I couldn't find you. Thank God I didn't, because if I would have found you, you would have been dead. It's basically what he says, right? And what the father is doing here is he's doing what he thinks that he should do, is flex the dad card, flex his authority. And I believe he truly means that, but I think that he means it because he's emotional about the situation and not seeing clear. He's angry. He's angry. And I'm sure he would admit that he's angry at the boyfriend. But that same anger, what do you think that has done throughout this young daughter's life? We don't know, right? Why don't we know? Because that side of the story is not being told. There's a narrative. There's a narrative. So if we're going to tell a story, we got to make sure that we tell the whole thing so we can get to the bottom of it, so we can solve the problem, so we can get through it, we can get past it. But when emotions are involved, there's always a narrative. Everybody wants to pick a side. And what did the father and the mother do to this girl raising up? And it doesn't have to be physical abuse, but how they raise her for where she has rejected what a decent man looks like and is chasing the abusive men. Why? You heard the father said, is it because maybe the father is angry? Is it because maybe he has this thing about him? He said he was a man who trained fighters and gladiators and warriors, right? To do crazy things to the enemy, right? He trained them to do that. So he has that type of mindset. Did that mindset spill over into his family? Spill over into his children, raising them? We don't know because we don't have the full story. But these are just questions I had. I'm just trying to help fill the holes here. Last clip and I'm done. I'm off this. A psychologist gets to the truth of the matter. I want to hug this man. Here we go.
Dr. Charles Sophie is a member of our advisory board, and he says that Sean and Angelica are not as actively involved as they can be, and are allowing Autumn to control them and make decisions when she does not have the tools to do so. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm not trying to insult you or condescend to you. I'm talking about the fact that I was saying before, that you're in the middle of this, and it's really hard when you're down in the trenches
Really
to see
hard.
what's going on. And she is what we call enmeshed in this relationship, right? You see this all the time.
Enmeshed.
I mean, what was it that you did, supposedly, that made her run to him, and in her mind, he has rescued her from you? And that connection,
100%.
she can't let go. He's her protector, even though he doesn't protect her. So whatever happened that made you run when you said you didn't get fed, you didn't get a shower, all that stuff, the way you were telling them, you were pounding it into them. You're angry at them, I guess, right?
Yes, I'm angry.
Do you ever deal with that with them?
I mean, yeah, we talk about it, but I mean, definitely I run to DeAndre because I feel like he does give me like what I need and whenever I need it, and I feel like that's like true love.
Yeah, but initially you ran to him and he's protected you.
Yes.
And so that's where she's addicted to this whole thing.
Exactly. Shout out to that psychologist, man. And the narrative was already in the beginning of that clip. It was saying she's entrenched in this thing. She's stuck. She can't, right? It's, cater and interpret. But the psychologist is like, you're angry at your parents. And he asked the father, hey, why is she running to this man? Something happened in the home. Exactly the point. Exactly right there. And she said, yeah, I'm angry at them. She's angry at her parents. And I like Dr. Phil. You know what I'm saying? I ain't calling him out as him being not a good representation of doctors or therapists, whatever his titles are. But I'm just saying is that, like, kind of at the same time, like, we got to really get to the issue here. And shout out to his team, Dr. Phil's team, for having other people on board who can give second opinions, because Dr. Phil wasn't saying that in the beginning. So luckily this man came on and said that, hey, it's starting in the home. You know what I mean? It's starting in the home. And she's angry, right? And in that anger, you reject what you hate, right? But then you also chase after what you're familiar with, what you're comfortable with, right? What you know. And that should be this whole thing should allow the father to question where he went wrong, and the mother, where they went wrong, right? Because right now they're so openly and outwardly mad at the boyfriend, right? And they want to kill the boyfriend. The father wasn't playing. Probably like, listen, I trained killers. So you lucky I didn't find you type thing. But that shouldn't be the solution. The solution should be, where I as a father, where did I go wrong as a father that allowed my daughter to no longer trust me, but now rely on another man who beats her? Where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? Right? We don't get that solution often. We don't get that. And that's what the father should be doing. So hopefully that's what the father does from this. I hope that he gets that from this whole Dr. Phil interview thing, this whole scenario, that he as a father has to take accountability, right? They want the boy to take accountability, as he did. He said he's abusive. He said that he's angry. He said he's in these classes. He said that he's trying to get better. He said that he's working on it. Leave him alone now. Let him go. Anger can't do that, though, because anger wants you to hurt. Anger wants you to suffer. Anger wants you to, anger wants you to hurt. But leave him alone now. He admitted to it. He's not your problem anymore. Boom, done. And if the daughter wants to continue to be in this relationship with him, let her go. The parents take responsibility for the fact that they made mistakes and allowed that and filled the daughter's mind up with a lot of these things, or make her daughter's mind vulnerable to the lies of the enemy, right? Make her daughter's mind vulnerable to the lies of the enemy. Take responsibility of that. Apologize to the daughter for the mistakes that you've made, right? And then move on with your life. That's all you can do. You can't seek revenge, even though I understand that. But you can't seek revenge. That's not the answer. You can't blame the boyfriend. That's not the answer. You gotta take responsibility. And the mother didn't do much talking. And who knows what fault the mother had to play in this either, right? And Dr. Phil, you gotta, if you a therapist, you're a psychologist, you can't choose a side as a therapist or a psychologist or a counselor. You can't choose a side. You have to be even keel. You have to hear both sides of the story. You cannot be mad at boys because they're abusive and then love ladies because they're victims. You cannot see it that way, because then you're not giving out the proper message to the world, right? The truth is not getting out, and people are going to you for the truth. So we gotta, and all people, myself who's doing podcasts, people who do podcasts, therapists, doctors, psychologists, you gotta really check yourself at all times. People are going to you for the truth, and you choosing sides, they ain't getting the truth. They ain't getting the help that they need.